And welcome back to Prop by the Bar. We're back in the studio.
We are.
Ready to go.
We've had a new bit of fame lately, Mike.
Record episode last month.
Like 7,000 views. We've never had that before. So look, guys, if you're viewing, welcome. All the new people that are viewing.
And thanks to those that put up with us as
subscribe.
well.
Please subscribe, because we've got to get a certain number of subscribers up before this thing really kicks off. So we'd really like your help. So jump on and subscribe. That would be really appreciated.
But we've got a great episode. Shouldn't say good episode. We've got a great episode coming up. We're actually we've got the Mayor of Geelong coming on to have a chat to us.
I'm going to officially title him as Mayor Sully.
Mayor Sully.
Mayor Sully.
Now, this is the third mayor that we've had. We've been doing the show for 4 years.
About 4 years.
Yeah.
Yep. I reckon he's the best looking. He's the best looking. He's the youngest and the most charismatic.
Yeah. So looking forward to that chat. And last time we had one of the mayors on, we made the front page of the paper.
We did.
So let's see.
And I think we will too. We will this time too. Yeah, we'll just
challenge accepted.
We'll make him make something.
Anyway, thanks for tuning in. So market.
It's been, it's people that keep saying what's going on with the market, where it's at, and I think what's really becoming clear is that we're in this market cycle, and we're at the first stage of that recovery stage of the cycle. And in the recovery stage, what we see, firstly, we start seeing the prices start to increase just slightly, and then we start seeing a bit more growth, and then we start seeing stock come on the market in high levels as people get their confidence up. And so we're starting to see the stock coming on. And what generally follows that is a bit of a lull and a bit of a steadying of pricing.
Well, you've got more...
Followed by an increase.
More stock, competition, days on market have increased.
Yep.
I find in... Banks are usually coming to the party. I haven't seen a lag.
No, banks are starting to come. I think banks are starting to come to the party. I think they've now dropped their ICR rates to 1.2. And the thing to talk, I'm going to talk a little bit ICR rate, because I know we've talked about it a little bit in the past, but it's the most important thing when it comes to lending now, the interest coverage rate, because it used to be, they called it LVR, the loan to value ratio used to be the big thing. Now it's interest coverage rate. So if it means that how much income can I have to cover that interest?
Equity out, cash flow in.
Yep, that's right.
That's all it is.
It's a cash flow thing now. It's all about cash flows to borrow that money. So that's having a big impact on the market, because they've adjusted that down and given people more of a chance of borrowing. I think we're in that stage. So the cycle now, I think, just since 1983, when Australia floated the dollar, the market cycle of property in Geelong has been 4 years. 4-year cycles. People talk about 7 and 10 years, but if you actually look at the statistics, since 1980, it's been about 4 years every cycle. And the cycle is that you get this, this recovery period where we get a bit of increase and we start getting some confidence back. And then we get the stock comes on the market, and we'll see a little one of these, right? A little drop and a little steadying factor for a while, and then we'll see the market start to pick up again. So we're in that. We're just in the stock coming back on. Listings starting to increase, the number of opportunities starting to increase, the money coming back to the market, people getting confidence that the steadying is here, and then we'll get a slowly increase for a while, and then we'll get another one, and then off we go again. So I'm confident we're in that. We're definitely, all the signs are that we're definitely in that. It's
a good time to buy, isn't it?
It is.
We were talking just off camera before about some of the stock out there is well below replacement, and probably more so in the growth corridor areas.
Have a look at Armstrong's Creek. I've got to be honest. Yeah. Armstrong's Creek is I've never said this before, a great place to buy right now. Yeah. Especially if you're an investor or something like that. The thing is, your median price point in Armstrong Creek has dropped. It was up around that 750 mark. Now you can go out there. So I'll give you an example. 84 Grevilla Drive, Mount Dunedin, sold by our friends at Barry Plant, did a great job. It sold at market $650,000. It was a 4-bedroom house, 2 bathrooms, so modern standard, like your Simmons or Metricon sort of spec home, with on a 444 square metre block. Now to build that property, you would have to pay now about 417 grand just for the land. You'd have to hold it for about 18 months, and then you'd have to pay about 400 grand to build the house. So you're buying a house out there in Armstrong's Creek cheaper than you can build it for. And that's we're starting to see that a lot more in those estates. So that says to me, that's great buying, right? If you can buy something that you can't build it for that's good buying, right? You've got to compare that again with Lara. I mean, Lara is the same type of growth corridor, wasn't there? With the same type of builds, with the same size blocks.
Just at the other end of
town. The other side of town, and their medium house price is between $850 and $1 million to buy the same property that I could buy in Armstrong's Creek. So you are starting to see this divergence between the two ends of town of these new growth corridors. One's closer to Melbourne and gets that uplift, and one's just a bit further away.
Clearance at auctions has started to creep back up. We're back in the 70s.
Auctions are up as a number about 19.8%. So there's more auctions coming back in, which is saying that the agents have confidence, isn't it? To tell their clients to take it to auction.
Because for a period of time, very little was going to auction. It was all private sales.
And that was the agents driving that, because they're the ones looking at the market and making that call. And now the agents have the confidence to say to their guys, let's go to market.
Yeah.
Let's go to auction.
And we've seen some really good results. Like we had one a couple of weeks ago in Ballyann Street.
Oh, yep.
That Michael Chikarico auctioned there, and that went for $250 above reserve.
Yep.
And it wasn't that long ago that wasn't happening, and it wasn't that long ago before that it was. So we're in that cycle, but the good properties are still selling really well at auction.
Dave Cordes had that good one on the Esplanade too.
Yeah.
That townhouse that he took for sale, and he got above. I think they went well above the reserve. There's been quite a few auctions above reserve, which is great for everybody. That's what we want to see.
Yeah.
Across the market, we are in that more listings coming on. The stuff that's auctioning and selling now is at the end of that first growth phase, isn't it? Like that, they've been at market now for 4 to 6 weeks. They've had that first growth phase, and those auctions are creating confidence, and that confidence is driving more listings into your agents. So you've seen that? You've seen that your agents have more listings, more ability more people coming in saying, hey, I want to sell?
Oh, it's right across the board, both residentially and commercial.
Yep.
So we're starting to see a little bit more commercial stock come on.
Really? Yeah, that's good, because that's been dead.
Industrial still challenging.
Yep.
Which, we've spoken about that being...
The industrial cycle is sort of half a cycle behind
Yeah.
now, because it's or in front, whichever way you look, but it's out of kilter with the cycle that we're currently in with residential and other things. So these cycles don't actually overlap each other. They sort of at different time periods within the cycles.
And we always talk about markets within markets, but I reckon the commercially, industrially, beg your pardon, is behind generally. I reckon 6 months behind.
Yeah, you reckon it's behind, So the interesting stuff is really in has this listings come on, will that impact demand? What's that going to do to demand? And obviously more supply diminishes demand, means that there's more opportunities for purchasers, so that they can lose that auction and go to the next one with some confidence that they'll get one. That means that we're going to see a lull. We'll see some of these prices starting to come back, and I think you're seeing them in the outer suburbs first. But it's always like a ripple effect. It starts out and it will ripple in a little bit, and then the improvement when we get out of that increase in listings and into that back into summer, probably into spring and summer, we're probably going to see the demand start matching the supply, because
it'll be a big spring market.
Yeah, because you go, when you build it, they come. It's very much the same in property,
isn't it funny that just shows the mentality, like there's opportunities existing in the market now that won't exist in 6 months' time.
It's such a great time to be buying.
All right, so
there's
social acceptance when you go to an auction and there's 3, 4, 5 people that want it, but people get gun shy when no one else puts their hand up to buy it. So I reckon the opportunities exist now.
They exist now because people that bought at the peak of the previous market, they're the ones that suffered the most, because they've had this fall down and they've had this sustained period of fall down. They're probably in a bit of hurt. And so as they put those properties in the market, that sort of drove that recovery. And then we're starting to see that recovery building to some momentum. Then we'll see a big lot of listings come on, and then we'll see, we'll get back in that market as normal. So it's an interesting time. It's a great time to be buying.
And having said that, we're still experiencing 2.2% population growth.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because you've got all these greenfield estates that are really struggling. We've talked about that a bit with in the next interview. But basically, you can buy land now in Geelong. It's going to cost you $417,000 for your average lot price. But in Melbourne, it's about $377,000 for the same lot. So we are now selling land more expensive than Melbourne have been for a while, and that's unsustainable. That's just flatly unsustainable. So something has to give out in the estates. The planning has to happen faster, so the costs are lower, so they can put the lots in it a lot cheaper. We need something happen with all these windfall gains taxes and taxes on developers everywhere. It's had the impact to take supply out of the market.
I reckon that's a perfect opportunity to segue straight to our guest.
Oh, it is, I reckon.
I reckon we're talking all things Geelong, so let's get the Mayor of Geelong in.
We're calling him Jetstar Sully. He's on next.
Anyway, we're coming up with the interview now. Welcome back. As alluded earlier, our guest this month is the one and only Mayor, Trent Sullivan. So in tradition of having mayors, we last I think back in 2020 we interviewed the then Mayor Stephanie Asher, and she put us on the front page of the paper with some comments. So,
she did.
So no paper, but anyway.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. But anyway, welcome to Proct. Thanks for joining us.
No, thank you, gentlemen. I might have the honour of being the 99th Mayor of Greater Geelong, but I have the honour of being the 3rd Mayor on this program. So I'm keeping that on the tally.
Hopefully you last longer than the other mayors after they were on our show.
I'll keep that in mind. All right, cheers.
You want to cut right now? Yeah.
Here we go. We're moving forwards.
So, what do your mates call you at school? Do they call you Sully? What was your nickname at school?
That's classic, mate. You know where you get Trent, Trenner, Trenos. If you ever want to make a nickname about someone like me at mine, you have to actually extend it. Yeah. It doesn't really help you too much.
I'll just put a Y then.
Just put a Y, exactly. Well, that's the
Mayor
40
Sully.
field. That's the 40 field name. Every man in my family has ever played footy on the field.
Did you
it's
play
always
footy?
Sully. Played in the illustrious thirds in year 12, mate. So
very
got a
good.
couple
Yeah,
of games.
rightio. What school was that?
That was at Geelong College where I graduated.
College boy. Good lad. Good lad. I only got the thirds there too. I think you have to, really talk up the coach or something to get in the seniors there. But who cares about Geelong College Footy Club, really? No, we do. So you are the mayor of our council, which is the biggest by geographical and population in the state.
Yeah.
Proportion, isn't it? So
Absolutely.
It's massive. It's a massive. It's not just it's not a small responsibility because you've got over 3,000 staff, or around 3,000 staff.
Mm-hmm.
You've got an annual budget of $600 million. So you're effectively the man in charge of one of the biggest, or probably the biggest business in Geelong.
Yeah, we're definitely up there. It's actually interesting because when most people think of your councils, your municipal locality, people think of a bit of suburbia in Melbourne or you're far out in rural Victoria. But not many places, actually we're the only one really that has a CBD, residential, commercial, industrial, you have an international airport, seaport, agricultural, primary production, you've got your coastal towns, you've got your inland towns as well. There's really everything within one municipality we have here. And to have, 3,000 staff just below, annual budget of $600 million, and a balance sheet of what is actually $4.6 billion of what we look after as a council. Yeah, right. Because a council, local government, is really two things. A, you're a service provider. We provide over 126 different services to a municipality. And then we're an asset manager, which is that $4.6 billion worth of parks, roads, footy clubs, netball clubs, sporting things, all these other cuts.
All this infrastructure. So let's talk about all those services. 126 different services.
Indeed.
When you cut it back to the vote pay, people talk about council being three things, bins, rates and roads, really?
Roads, rubbish.
Why we grow so much further than that?
Well, there's certain things that we have a legislative responsibility to provide. Things such as your planning, your waste collections, your roads, rates, rubbish, potholes, local roads, things like that. There's extra things we get into, such as aquatics, such as we provide maternal health care, child and maternal health care. We do aged care. Not many people know that the council is actually the largest in-home provider of aged care services in the municipality, just because we do all the in-home care services. Plus, as well, we have a couple of nursing homes of our own. Now, they're not ones that are legislated for us to be in, but we've gone into it over time. Yeah. So this changes almost every year.
And that's what I see from the outside too. We are involved in a lot of services, and I do wonder sometimes whether we've got in probably at the right time we did it. The thoughts were that it needed to be provided to the community for the benefit of the community. But the world changes, and you've got things like NDIS and work cover and all these other things now that exist. Is it really necessary for the council to be providing all those services still in time? Or do you guys look at that and consider that annually, or how does that sort of work when you look at all those services? Do they get reviewed?
Yeah, that's always going to be part of our big budget, how we look at what we do provide. There's certain things we have to be in, certain things that we choose to be in. But there's also something as well that is in the legislation that we cannot, if we're providing service which is cannibalising the private sector, we can cannibalise existing businesses. Right. So we can't come into a field and kick private providers out. But it's also up to us to say, hang on a second, we're providing this service at the cost of a ratepayer. Are there private sector facilitators that can operate in this space smoothly, that can transition easily without any loss of quality of provisions? Should we be in that space still? Or should we be getting out that and redirecting those dollars into other areas?
And could you even sell those responsibilities, those things away to other people as businesses? Could you sell the parking in Geelong to an operator? Could you sell the aged care stuff to an operator?
There are things like that, absolutely. It's like the Civic car park on the corner of Little Mallup Street and Joinghap Street. we sold that just maybe 12, 18 months ago, the old car park there. We got out of that, but we were able to sell it to a private owner with provisions on it that has to maintain 10, 12, 15 years as a car park as well. When you think of all the aquatics we have, we are known as the municipality of pools, really, for so many other places. We've had 2 massive facilities open in the last 12 months. You go up the road to Wyndham. Once they built their facilities, their pools there, all their aquatics, they then formed a private company with a contract to run them, but had to hit the strategic goals of the council itself. So they outsourced it, so they weren't running at a loss, which pools often do run at a loss. It's a service we provide, but there's different ways we can mitigate that. I'm not saying we're going down that path, but something as, if we're elected to look after the budget of the whole council, we should constantly be re-evaluating the efficiencies we're getting for the ratepayers' dollars.
Yeah. I think you've got a budget due tomorrow or this week or something almost, don't you? So hopefully we see some of that stuff come through. There's a lot of stuff I think that we do as a council that I sometimes wonder whether that's not a state or a federal responsibility. Do you have things like affordable housing? Affordable housing, I think we've talked about this program a lot, Mike, and about the need and the growing need. We've got vacancy rates in Geelong less than 1%. We've got an exodus of investors in the rental space because of the state government and federal government taxes on investors. About 19.8%, I think, of the investors' stock has been sold into the market over the last 12 months, which is massive. It just diminishes more houses that are available for rentals. And we see talk that council's doing this and council's doing that and council's doing this in the affordable housing space. And I worry that we're spending money locally that we need for other services because the state government's not living up to its end of the bargain on this sort of stuff.
Yeah, so a strong part of what we do in local government is to advocate to the other levels of government, be it state, be it federal. And the strong thing we've been hearing from the community is the rising cost of living, housing affordability. We actually were able to market ourselves pre-COVID as quite an affordable place to move to have a career, to raise your kids, all that. We also saw the drastic increase in prices during COVID. What we're seeing right now is a lot of people, families being priced out of our market. So the increased demand for affordable housing has really skyrocketed quite a bit. And the community comes to us and say, well, what are you doing about it? We say, well, whilst it's not our responsibility to own and operate and manage social housing or to build it, it is we do need to come up with policies to advocate to state government to say how will they be putting this within our community, because they may be ones who build and operate it, but it'll be up to our planning team. How do we want it, salt and pepper amongst our community? Do we want it all in one location as been done in the past, or do we want it actually in different areas? So whilst we spend a lot of time advocating to it, and there has been council land which has been identified in the past that would be ripe for social housing investment, really a lot of it is trying to keep the state government to account on their targets. I mean, their targets for our own municipality is to build over 600 units of social housing per year. Yeah, that's quite a high target. It's incredibly ambitious.
Well, they're miles off.
Exactly.
I don't think they've even got a shovel in the ground, have they, Mike? The whole housing strategy from the state government has really come asunder, and a lot of everything they promised isn't anywhere near it. I think they were talking 80,000 homes per annum across the state, and we're actually down about 15% on what we were last year. So I think we're closer to 30,000 in the last year. So we're miles down. And that's to do with building costs and lots of other stuff. But one of the things locally that is impacting affordable housing is the ability to get new land onto the market. And when we're talking about that, we're talking about Western Growth Corridor, lovely banks, and these new areas. At the moment, Geelong has a lot price that's greater than Melbourne.
Indeed.
417,000 versus about 377. So it's a significant difference now in what it costs you to buy a lot in Geelong than it does in Melbourne. And it used to be the other way around. And when the other way around, it was very healthy. That's provided us a really healthy population boost, created Armstrong's Creek. How can the council, because you're in charge of planning, as you just said before, so how can council use their planning clout to get some of this land on the market?
Yeah, and people are often shocked when you tell them that the new blocks of land cost more in Geelong than Melbourne. We have lost essentially what has been our competitive advantage in bringing people down the highway. So as you know, Armstrong Creek and Dunedin have been our large growth areas for the last 10 years or so. And Armstrong Creek was designed for 60,000 people. We're roughly at to 40,000 already now. So when we thought we had another 10 years of land supply out there, that's drastically decreased that time frame. So the northwestern growth areas are, what we've been planning on for, over 10 years now. But releasing new land, applying, so making sure you're applying by the rules with the state, with the feds, it's a very difficult space. And you're talking with developers who do want to get in there, who do want to make land available. Because the longer we do push out the timeframes, the more the price of this land does increase. And we're going to make sure that, especially when we're building new housing around the northern suburbs, that we're not taking so long that we're actually pricing local community members out of that market. If they want to transition from North Geelong out to Lara West and whatnot.
That's a phenomenon I've seen now. Just in the last couple of weeks, Mike, we're doing valuations in Armstrong's Creek and other areas. And because of the rising construction costs and rise of the lot price, homes that are built on these lots that are priced so high with these construction prices aren't worth what they're being, the combined cost of the building cost and the land price, their end value after that
Don't
add up to the current market as if you were to sell an existing home in that area of the same ilk. So what we're saying is now they're starting to be the base modern standard home in those areas is starting to become overcapitalised because the existing stock growth hasn't met the increase in the construction costs and land costs. So it becomes a really fundamental issue, and it becomes really hard for people to build a home if they're going to lose $20,000 or $30,000 in equity the day that they build that home. So it's really, really difficult. So things are getting worse and worse out in the estates. I just don't know the way forward for them.
That's a difficult one.
It is. I'm going to move on, save us all from that question.
Okay.
Going back to state government in relation to, I guess, the connection and the synergy between council and state government. On this show, what's dominated conversation is buses, public transport solution, and the framework across central Geelong in terms of height. So we keep getting told that there's a disconnect, I guess, between what council are actually saying and what essentially we're getting delivered, which is state government policy. How do we change that, or what are your views in some of, those are the three issues that I see are dominated, the CBD issues.
Dominated the CBD issues, yeah.
Yeah, and they're massive issues. I mean, the routes of the bus stops and where they're located has been massive for a long time, ever since I've been on council, when they were first consolidated into Miracle Street right there. Ever since I've been on council, we've been doing workshops, we've come to myriad plans, we've taken all these ideas to the state government. At the end of the day, it is the state government's prerogative, it is their responsibility. The Department of Transport has implemented a plan, they're planning to see it through to fruition. It was interesting seeing the Central Geelong Framework Plan and how there was actually mention in that of moving the buses to the centre of that strip as opposed to on the edges of it.
Yep.
So there's been some concessions in some places. But we've come up with myriad of plans in the past of, what would bus lanes look like implemented around the CBD, what would, diversifying the stops look like, really spread out that area. But the state government has, stayed true to, the current location.
What would you like to see?
Well, see, I remember when they used to have the operating model where they used to circle around the CBD and always come back into the Geelong train station. When I was a kid taking buses, that was absolutely fine. You could get anywhere across CBD. Right now, if you're a senior and you're trying to get from Mirrabul bus stop to Yarra Street, that could be quite a bit of a walk. Whereas before, the buses used to have the option to stop at all of them. So it was actually okay, circulate through. And also, take away that sort of hub that really can be considered antisocial behaviour at that bus station, that bus stop itself. But we're always open to working with the state government on this. We want to work hand in hand with the integrated transport plan across not only the CBD, but the region as well.
Have we got one?
Well,
have we got an integrated transport plan? Because me and Mike have been involved in a few committees.
Yep.
Yeah. And we have advocated for this ourselves. And we were presented with the Department of Transport, and I'm on to that. They told us they had one full-time person allocated to do matters in Geelong transport planning. One person out of their department of I don't know how many thousand, out of all the rates we pay, all that sort of stuff, to have only one person and no integrated transport plan to this date. How the hell, as a council, can we take any steps forward with transport without one?
Well, we've tried, we've pushed in many different ways. I mean, a big thing for us, is getting, heavy traffic out of Ryrie Street. Using that east-west connection there, which is only becoming more and more congested.
Got to get those trucks down the Killip or somewhere else.
Well, if you push them down there, they run their own issues because there's residential places down there too.
Kicking down the road,
So a big thing for us is actually the final stage 4 of the Geelong Ring Road, which is actually, the Ballerine bypass, the Port Arlington Road.
Which isn't funded yet.
Which isn't funded yet. It's been the plan for a long time. There's been commitment to fund it, but we actually haven't had the funding done. Which there's myriad of reasons behind that you can imagine politically, but having that connection finalised will actually enable us to get heavy vehicle movements out of the middle of our CBD. What was it, last year we saw cyclists killed by a truck in the CBD there? Yeah. It was absolutely horrible. I mean, it's not the place to have a V-double going down the middle of our CBD. You just don't see it anywhere else.
No, it's weird.
So things like that, but that has to be, because you can't have it integrated until you do heavy vehicle, buses, active transport, your car, even like that. There's so many things that go into this that unless we actually are prepared to, fund, what would be an integrated transport plan, none of these things work in a siloed effect.
I was amazed, and we sat on some of these central task force or activity centre meetings to hear that there is no big picture in terms of getting people around the city other than buses. There is no light rail, or there's no trams, or there's no...
They've all been advocated for different groups here and there. What about Market Square? Do you think it has something to play with all this? Is the council's just done this big study to create a plan for the Market Square? Our frustration that we're happy to voice is that there was no engagement with the owners, and that's because they won't engage. There's other tools within the Act that you guys have access to, such as the Compulsory Acquisition Act. Why can't we just compulsory acquire the damn thing, turn it into a park, and then we can sell it again later to someone who wants to activate it?
Well, you should actually, it's very interesting. You should have a chat to my deputy mayor, Anthony Aiken, who was part of the council that sold off Market Square to the current owners, but they had their reasons at the time. But yeah, really, myself and the CEO, we are this close to just jumping on a plane to Singapore and getting the two Singaporean-based owners, and just trying to get them in a room and say, what are you doing? Because it's a scale on the mark of what is our CBD, what is currently happening there. Every day we see new articles about businesses. They can't even sell their businesses. They're just shutting up shop and trying to get out of there. Those are people's livelihoods. In the past, we've gone to the management and say, hey, we'd love to spend a bit of money, activate, give you a facelift. Like, how can we actually spend money on you to create ease on this issue? And they're not even interested in taking free money from the council to activate their space.
It seems like there must be a big fund, and they've obviously got lots of other assets.
Indeed.
And this is a very small little thing in their tree, I get that. But you did make a good segue into flying out of the country. We do read in the paper that you're off to Europe. Maybe that whole sell would be a better sell if you could tell them you're stopping by Singapore on the way. This is how we're going to get this over the line, Sully. We're going to go take the Sully air flight.
Footy coach chat here. Here we go.
The Sully flight's going to go to Singapore, and then we go to Europe. And when we get to Singapore, Sully's going to go in and you're going to hammer a few heads, and you're going to get us this damn Market Square.
Bit of shirt from
Either get it back, or get them to do something, or at least get on the radar with them.
I think we just found our headline: Mayor Sullivan to hammer some heads.
Oh no, I didn't say that.
Sully's going to take the Sully Express to Singapore.
The Sully Express.
Sully Express to Singapore. Right, what's in Europe? What are you doing in Europe?
Yeah, so as many people know, Geelong is a designated UNESCO City of Design, which is a recognition we've been very proud of. Puts us up in the lights with cities such as Istanbul, Buenos Aires, Shanghai, London, all these amazing cities around the world. And it's sort of because sister city relationships have fallen a little bit out of favour, because a relationship, you don't get the effort, you don't get out what you put into it. And it's much easier to discuss with a network of like-minded cities and get information from all of them than it is to be working on individual bases. Being a UNESCO City of Design, we get many delegates coming through, we have many festivals, Geelong Design Week, XYZ, there's a lot of economic development that comes from this. The one responsibility we have that they ask of us is that they say, it doesn't cost you any money to be a member, just once a year, send your mayor or council representative to the AGM to report on what you're doing. That's all they ask of us.
Does he need any help? Yeah, I could be your...
You can be my expert officer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate that.
Trip to Europe. Imagine what we could do in Europe. We'd tear it up.
Oh, we would be very professional and have many productive meetings.
I'd help you with the Singapore thing.
You be the muscle.
I'll be the muscle.
One of your portfolio items, or you were chair of, was Com Games.
Yep, indeed. It still exists, by the way, the portfolio.
Okay.
Does the money?
Well, that's what exists. That's what exists.
So that was the basis of the question. So just to go back, when did you find out that the Com Games weren't going to happen, and where are we at with the funding, the infrastructure money?
Yeah, it's interesting sort of when you find out at a definitive moment, because for the 6 weeks up until the announcement, we thought something might have changed. The communications changed. We were wondering what was happening, and then 15 minutes roughly before the Premier, Deputy Premier and the Minister went live on ABC, on telly, I got a phone call 15 minutes before they went live. I'd recommend that this is what's happening.
It's good they give you that much respect.
It was about 8 a.m. in the morning. I started to have a shower and a shave, and I remember just shaved myself, and that razor was that hard pressed into my face. I cut myself on the way. I was just thinking, geez, what's happening here? But yeah, so we had about 15 minutes heads up, but we were cautious something was changed, but we just didn't know how much. And this was a huge announcement. Yeah. How quickly they came out with saying, oh, but we're doing funding packages for XYZ. I think it might have been in the works for a little bit. They sort of knew what was happening. But really, the game has changed from delivery mode. So we've been really focused on, talking to the state government, campaign to make sure that we still get the infrastructure, the money that was promised for community infrastructure, sporting facilities, regional, indoor event centres and whatnot.
A basketball stadium.
Exactly, mate. Yeah. Over 10% of the municipality, the population here is involved with indoor, basketball or netball or some kind there. And while there's the hockey pitch at Stead Park, high ball facilities at Armstrong Creek, there's plenty of regional level infrastructure that we need here. And it's making sure that money does come through and that we don't get, scope diminish in what we've been promised by the state.
Basketball stadiums. How badly do we need basketball stadiums?
Hugely, mate. We need a stadium. We need a show court stadium.
It is like the biggest sport in Geelong now, massively. It's outdoing AFL and all the money's still going down to Kinninya Park. We need to get... I would have rather the last chunk of money, instead of building that last stand, us build a state-of-the-art centre or even just enough courts so that the kids don't have to line up on top of each other to play basketball every week.
And then when you've got families who are leaving Geelong to go up to play basketball in Ballarat or Bendigo because they do have show court facilities. They do everything. I mean,
you're talking to this bloke every Friday. He's off to somewhere else.
They don't have
with far greater facilities than what we have. It's and in terms of our population, it's like we're being left behind.
Absolutely, and netball as well. I mean, most of our representative netball squads, represent Geelong. They haven't got a show court to play at.
We've got outdoor courts next to the Easy Park. So they get to look at how the football play, but they can play on the outdoor ones.
So are you confident that we will get the funding in the same timing?
The state government is still saying that they want all these projects delivered by the original time frame of November 2026. I think there's something else happening that month as well. But they're still committed to that. We want to hold them to that, absolutely. But we're not the builders of these. The people who will be providing it is Development Victoria. They'll be the project managers for all these three builds, being Stead Park, Armstrong Creek, and Warren Ponds. They're promising these dates, and we expect them to deliver.
Yeah, well, I hope it does. I mean, I was at the Geelong United game on the weekend, and it was probably one of the best games of basketball I've ever seen. It was really close, really tight, but the amount of people that wanted to be there, it was full packed. And that would have been sold out twice if we had the infrastructure to build that sort of stuff.
100%.
And I know that there's one planned out for the Lara out at Beckley Park.
They're advocating for that one, yep.
Yeah. So they've got the land there from the trust. They can use the land. We just need to find money to build the stadium. It's those sort of things that we need to get going. We need to get behind.
Absolutely.
So, get this money off the Commonwealth would be a good start. All right, so that's going pretty good.
Cancel elections.
October 26th this year. So it's interesting. We've had so after the council was sacked in 2016, there was a commission of inquiry.
You're waiting for this, weren't you?
Which had a whole series. I might have had a couple of chats about this in the past. That had a series of recommendations. One of them was the multi-member ward system, to stay away from single-member wards in terms of governance concerns. State government has been doing a statewide program of returning councils to single-member ward systems. So whilst currently we have 4 multi-member wards across the entire municipality, this council election will be going back to 11 single-member ward councillors. Once those 11 councillors are elected, they will then vote amongst themselves for a mayor and deputy mayor.
Right. See, I think this is a turning point for Geelong City Council. I reckon it really is. There has been a lot of talk and a lot of people aren't happy with the council, the way it's been operating. There's the state government's had your monitor in there and all that sort of rubbish. Massive waste of money in my opinion. But we've got now a chance, with you change your wards, you change who's voting in what areas, we're changing the amount of people that can run in different areas. I reckon it's an opportunity for people to stand up and maybe change the makeup of the council, maybe get a whole new sort of look and face on it. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, council bashing is always easy points to have a crack at what's going on here, and the state government has reappointed some monitors to make sure that all the recommendations are implemented, and we're nearly all the way there now. But a council is essentially a board, and as mayor, you're really the chairman of the board, chairperson. So, and like every board, you sort of want healthy turnover every few years, really. You don't want to have a complete clean out at any one point. It's good to have a bit of tacit knowledge and a bit of experience in that. But you do want a healthy rotation of new people, new ideas.
We've got a lot of councillors that haven't moved for a long time, but maybe this is an opportunity for them to reassess whether they should run again, don't you think?
Yeah, well, I'd be surprised if everybody decides to run again. Last council election, we had 10 out of 11 councillors re-elected, which is an abnormally high number. Many of us were from the vintage of 2017, if you had been there a bit longer. So we'll see. I mean, I'm not sure who's going to be running again, but I imagine you do want a certain amount of turnover within a council. But then there's a lot of people who are experienced, who are absolute assets and just know how to advocate for their community quite fiercely. But with any democratic election, you just want a strong turnout. You want a good field of candidates. You don't want anybody to sort of be able to walk on in uncontested. You do want people there to push people to make sure that we do have the best candidates.
Is it a hard job being a councillor?
Oh, look, I'm not going to say it's an easy one. But it will change going to the single member ward structure, because if you're elected as a councillor under this new ward structure, you are that community's go-to person. Even if a lot of people still work full time, you have to make yourself available to when all of your residents in that area, if you have any concerns about planning, about funding, about capital works, renewals, things like that, you have to be available for them. So that right now, I'm in the Bellarine ward. And if somebody can't get me, they go over to Jim Mason. If they can't get Jim Mason, they get Elise Wilkinson. There's always going to be sort of someone available, and that's the way it's sort of played out. But people in single member boards, they have to be available all the time, and they will be directly accountable to that board.
So how do you feel about that? How's it going to change the way you go about your daily business?
Well, I'm there until the end of this council term. I haven't said if I'm going to run again or not. I've never operated on a single member ward structure. I ran once, my first campaign, I think I was 22 or 23. I ran the Kildare by-election. Peter Murray and I won against each other, and then he edged me out and he got up, and then he served on the council for a bit before that was sacked in 2016. But I've only ever worked under multi-member ward structure. I'm a big fan of it. I think it increases regional collaboration. You don't have to be so much worried about fiefdom mission. This is my patch, and I'm only sort of going to get things delivered in my patch. And we're at a stage right now in Geelong. We are the infrastructure we need is of regional standards. It's the state government invests heavily, the federal government invests heavily in our region, as does the council. When council opened the Northern Aquatic Community Hub, that was over $44 million of our council's money in regional infrastructure. These decisions, are not taken lightly, and we need to have that big picture thinking if we're going to continue to see Geelong grow and take it to the next level.
The Northern Hub is quite a feat, actually. I've been out there to have a look at it. It's actually magnificent. And some of the infrastructure in there with the Department of Health, hospital that's gone in there as well. We're starting to get some really good infrastructure from the northern suburbs of Geelong, which is fantastic.
Sorely needed.
How do you reckon G Kent would go in the council?
G Kent.
Oh, crikey.
2024. Here we go. Shirt fronting, or business owners around the place.
Well, why not? Shirt front the business, rattle the cages.
Rattle the cages, mate. There we go. Drain the swamp.
You run for one, I'll run for the other one.
I appreciate that. Cheers.
You said you haven't decided whether you're going to run again or not, but if you want people to know what you have done or your lasting legacy as mayor, what would it be?
So my lasting legacy, which I hope it'll be and what I've been working towards, is ensuring financial sustainability in turbulent times. Last year we had a bit of what many see as a bit of a rough budget. Some tough decisions had to be made. We have a new budget coming out tomorrow, which will see us through the rest of the financial year and further. And that's one which I'm actually, I can't go into details, but I can say that I'm very, very proud of it. A lot of tough decisions have been made in the past, and this has been really a return to good governance, good financial principles. And it'll be a way that we can be proud of and to move forward as a community. And there's difficult times for everybody, even in terms of financial pressures. Every organisation, every business, every household, every level of government. We are a council that's operating at a 2.75% rate cap. When inflation's up anywhere from 4 to 8%, and the cost of providing the services and doing what you're doing is going up anywhere from 10 to 20% per year. They're really difficult times, and we've got to make sure we're stretching the dollar further. We're getting value for the ratepayer's dollar, because that's what people to see, value for the rates that they're paying.
Absolutely.
And we've got to keep our rates affordable. I mean, people in Geelong, nobody really is super thrilled about paying their rates. But you look around the statewide, we're actually on the cheaper end of many places as well, which a lot of us can take for granted. So it's really about about good governance, about making sure that the organisation has become stable again. Just before I became mayor, we had a CEO retire. We managed to get a new CEO in, new executive directors. This is the first time we've had a full set of directors when no one was acting for nearly over 3 years now. So returning that stability to the organisational structure, making sure we're financially sound going forwards, and that we have kept up with our, we spent over $200 million of capital works, or capital dollars in our infrastructure per year. That's outstanding. It's going to be one of the largest capital spends of any council in the state, if not the nation. So we're actually incredibly high in what we're pumping into the community. And that's what we're here for as an organisation. We don't sit on profits. It all gets reinvested and built on what we need.
We don't want to be broke either.
We don't want to be broke either.
Make sure we find that nice point, you know.
Absolutely.
Skate the ice.
Exactly. So I'm not here to, open a massive brand new facility in my name or anything like that. It's just to make sure that the organisation is doing the best it can for all of us.
Do they still put the plaque on the wall?
They still do plaques on the wall, yeah.
You walk around and they've got the plaque on the wall. This building was opened by me or whatever at this different time. Have you had any of those?
I'm on a few plaques around the municipality.
There you go.
I've never asked for one, but they do still do them on the larger
Well, you can
builds.
rest assured that in about 50 years there'll be some weird value walking around looking at them going, wonder who that bloke was.
Well, one thing I've done, footy clubs, new pools, even like that. One thing which I haven't got my name on, which I'd really love to wrap up by the end of it, is on a new public toilet, mate. That's what I'd love to have. I'd really love that.
Every good mayor's got a public toilet.
We actually do, and
somewhere.
there's passionate councillors fight every year to get more amenities like that in the region. That's something I'd absolutely love.
On a personal note, Trent, after cancel, what are the aspirations beyond cancel?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because I was first elected when I was 25. One of the youngest in the state. I was the youngest man there in the history of this municipality when I was 30 years old. And by the end of this election cycle, I would have been 32 and already done my 7 years on council. One thing I really love is working, for purpose. Doing what you do, make sure you have meaning for it at the end of the day. And so I love working with the community. I love advocating and seeing money well spent in our community. So also haven't got a defined path after this. I still like to, make sure I'm on a career path and I can rock up every day and say, hey, what I'm doing is actually bettering the lives of those around me. Love to be locally, love to stay local, but we just don't know yet.
Do you know what? A lot of people bang on about politicians and people in council, and you cop a lot of heat, but, we couldn't live our lives without people like you who, you don't get paid very much for what you do. You put so much time into it, and it is, you do it for the love of why you do it and for those reasons you just said. And I think so from the people of Geelong, thank you, mate. You do a great job, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that as well. And even all my councillors, they all do a fantastic job. Even if I don't disagree with them, even if I do disagree with them in the chamber, I know they're all there because they're at the heart. They're trying to get the right thing done for the community and the people of Geelong. So we're there to have healthy, robust debates to come to the ultimate outcomes of what is best for the community. But it takes you need a many diverse group to make up the council, and thankfully that's what we do.
Excellent.
Well, Trent, we love your enthusiasm, love you advocating for our city. And thanks for joining us on Propped.
Appreciate it, gentlemen. Thanks for your time.
Thanks again.
Cheers, guys.
And it's that time for us to head off. Just want to thank Mayor Trent Sullivan again for joining us. I loved that chat. He's
a ripper.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, when he first ran and up there, I thought, oh, who's this kid running for office in Geelong? Who's our mayor? Why is he so young? Blah, blah, blah. You know what? He's a ripper.
I reckon he's passionate,
Yep.
he's energetic, and yet he didn't shy away from any topic as well and give us the political no answer to.
But he's over it.
Yeah.
Like, he's over every issue, in detail, which I don't think I can say the same thing as when I've interviewed a lot of other councillors and other people and politicians. Like, he really believes in it. Not just he believes in it, he's passionate about it. And what more could we ask for?
Yeah, I agree. So thanks again, Mayor Sullivan. And
best of luck if you run again, which we hope you do. We want best of luck to Mayor Sally. Well done.
We're about to nod off. You're going to remind them again to subscribe?
Subscribe. So, guys, we need you to subscribe to this program, and there's a podcast. So you can listen to this in the car, whatever you're doing. When you're pretending to be, doing something else, working, you can put your earphones in and you listen to the podcast. So subscribe, have a look at our podcast, and thanks very much. We appreciate it.
We'll see you next month with another episode of Prop by the Bar.